Hello and welcome to Trojan Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. With me today is Barbara Patterson, Director of Student Involvement here at Troy University. And Barbara, thanks for joining me here today.
Oh, you're welcome.
And we bring you here every semester to talk about how students can get involved, and especially at the beginning of the year. But this year, obviously, there's some new challenges to getting involved with campus. But that just because coronavirus is looming over everything we do, that doesn't mean the student involvement has disappeared from campus. There's still opportunities to get involved, right?
Absolutely. It has not disappeared from campus. And from what all we see, all indicators, students are hungry to be involved in something, hungry for those connections. And we want to try to provide those connections in the safest possible way. And but we are seeing students coming back wanting to be involved. They have gone to Welcome Week events. They are signing up to do freshman forum, had record turnout for sorority recruitment. Fraternity recruitment is upcoming. They're still taking applications, and they have lots of applications also.
And so all of this has kind of come together for changing the way some of these groups meet. And,
Right.
And I know over the summer, because the spring got cut off so abruptly, that some of these groups had already started meeting over the summer and using that video conferencing technology. That has become something that has almost become integral to making these groups happen, right?
Right. Two of the groups that I advise really had to continue meeting over the summer because there was so much preparatory work for the fall and trying to figure out how we were going to do things in the fall, how to and have a momentum going into the fall. So as part of our students' Office 365, they have the app Microsoft Teams. And in most groups, very quickly transitioned to Microsoft Teams because of the video element, being able to have the whole group meet through Teams and also to be able to share files and to have the files in there. And that's just been a real blessing that the university offers that, and many groups picked up on that very quickly and transitioned that way.
Well, and we're talking about existing groups there, but let's talk about the newest people on campus, the freshmen, the transfer students. Those are the ones that usually when we're talking at the beginning of the year, they're the ones that we're focusing on to get involved. And now if you do have one of these new students that are watching right now, what is your best advice to them, especially in this current environment, about how to get involved with some of these groups and organizations, how to find how to get involved?
Well, first off, I would start going to some of the Welcome Week events, and we hope that they have been going to Welcome Week events and talking to people, asking other people that they meet in class, what are you involved in, what's going on. Go ahead and start following social media of student involvement, of SGA, all kinds of student organizations, because you will find a wealth of information, especially on Instagram, of when groups are meeting and what's happening. So I really think that they ought to just go ahead and start following the social media of the University of Student Involvement, and you will just, again, see a wealth of information.
And usually when we're talking about advice, we just tell them to go to a meeting or walk in.
Sure.
That's not a thing right now, because these meetings aren't necessarily happening in person anymore. So there is kind of that impediment to just walking into a room and becoming a part of an organization. But there's still organizations, there's still meetings, sometimes virtually, sometimes in person. And so I would say probably the best advice would be just to come see you all about that, right?
Yes, absolutely. They're more than welcome to come see us. And we're in 224, 212 of the Trojan Center.
Because of the construction, there's
because
moved
of the
around.
construction.
The old office has been gutted and all that.
Demolished.
Y'all been moved down the hallway a little bit.
Exactly. And we're more than happy to help students, get connected with maybe a student organization leader of the group. And, a lot of groups are still planning on meeting, but they're just not, if they can find a classroom or a meeting room on campus that will hold their size group, because most groups are not humongous, and if they can work with the university to find a group where they can meet, where they can have the social distancing, but also we're encouraging groups that if their group doesn't have a their whole membership can't fit in, to try to meet in halves, to try to meet in thirds. So, you know, maybe a third of the group is actually meeting, but 2/3 of the group is doing it virtually, and to rotate who gets to meet in person and who gets to meet virtually, so that there are that in-person connection. But we are emphasizing that they do have to follow CDC guidelines, state of Alabama guidelines, and really, really asking them to be very, very careful on that.
Masks and social distancing,
Masks and
obviously.
socially distancing.
And once again, if a student is out there and they're thinking about trying to get involved and wanting to get a hold of you again, where can they find your offices now so they can try to track that down?
Well, we're in the Trojan Center up on the 2nd floor, down the hall from Barnes & Noble, and it is Trojan Center 224 and Trojan Center 212.
All right, pop in, see Barbara, find out if there's a group for you on campus.
Right.
And then maybe by the next time we bring you on here, we'll talk about the good old days of student involvement in groups and meeting in person.
Exactly.
So, well,
hopefully by the spring.
Hopefully by the spring that'll happen. Thanks for joining us today, Barbara.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on today's edition of Trojan Talk.